Here's an example of a very common mistake I see a lot of new 3D modelers making. If you do your modeling through a mixture of editing the actual polygons manually by hand, selecting the vertexes, edges and faces and positioning them wherever you want them in edit mode, but you also do some of your modeling by, say, adjusting the scale of your model here in object mode rather than edit mode, you're going to run into an interesting problem when it comes to UV unwrapping your model. So if I take this model here and I make it very, very short and stubby, so some sort of reel for putting 3D printing filament on or something like that, and then I unwrap the UVs, everything here looks more or less okay. I've crushed down the size of it. This is the body of the cylinder here, but the top and bottom, the UVs aren't great, but everything looks fine. I can't see any problems right now. This would probably work. If I then took this model and scaled it up to create some sort of structural strut or reinforcement, and I've scaled this in object mode, if I unwrap the UVs, nothing changes. So this is going to cause problems because this UV here, these chunks in the middle of the model, these are very, very short and stubby here, but on our model they're extremely long, so any textures we paint onto these will be stretched out. This is because the model has been scaled in object space rather than scaled in editable poly space. The two do not share the same coordinate system. This is so you can duplicate this object a whole bunch of times and then change the scale of them to be whatever you want, and that's the actual one-to-one scale. This is how your UVs see this model, no matter what you do to the model's scale here in the viewport. This is what it is going to base the dimensions of the model on for generating the UVs. It doesn't take into account changes to the model's scale here then. So how do we fix this then? Well, if you take the model and say I want it this long, thin version of this model, this is how I actually want it to look, this is how I want to texture it, and these UVs with these very short, stubby unwraps are not going to work. You could manually adjust them, but it's easier to take this model and apply its transforms. Reset this, force it to accept this current scale as 1. In Blender, that's Ctrl+A, and you just hit Apply All Transforms. And now this model here has a location of 0, rotation of 0, and a scale of 1 in the X, Y, and Z. This is how the model is going to look no matter what we do to it in the UVs. And if I now unwrap the UVs, it takes that new scale into account. We can see that the body is very large, just what we'd expect to see, and the other UVs have been scaled accordingly. How do we do this in Max and in Maya? Well, in Max you have a tool called the Reset Xform, which if you go up into the top corner of your, look at your utilities and options, select the mesh that you want to reset and just click Reset Xform, and a pop-up window will appear underneath, and you press the button for Reset Selected, and it will apply a Reset Xform modifier to the modifier stack. You can then unwrap your UVs on top of that modifier, and everything should work the way that you've expected. And in Maya, the same tool is called Freeze Transformations, and that will force your model's rotation, scale, and location to be considered 0, and now your UV unwrap will work the way that you expect it to.